Hi, it's Dave T here, and the reason you can hear me from all the way over there is because I'm using a wireless lav mic. And today we'll be trying out the different mics and their advantages and disadvantages when vlogging. So, welcome to this week's vlog. Last week we made the camera mount to mount the camera on the dashboard, and that's what I'm using at the moment. And this week the idea is to talk about different microphones for vlogging and just general video work where you need to record sound. Now, if you research anything to do with audio and filming, the first thing people will tell you is don't use the onboard microphone on the camera. Now, is that good advice? Well, tell for yourself, because this is recorded using the EOS-R onboard microphone. So if you think this quality is fine, then that's what you'll get. Now, not all cameras are going to be the same, so maybe some cameras will be much worse than this. I'm actually recording obviously inside the car, and the windows are open, so you get some background noise, which is another interesting point. So the most common microphone to be recommended will be something like the RODE Videomic, which is a shoe-mounted video microphone which sits on top of the camera, and that's more directional and better quality depending on how much money you spend. So what I'll do now is I'll swap over to the RODE Videomic. So now we're in the same location, still sitting in the car. I've swapped over to the RODE Videomic, not the Pro version. I'll put on the caption the exact model number. Now, as soon as you add a video microphone on top of a camera, then it does become much larger from a camera point of view and much more obvious to other people. And that is important if you're vlogging, because it is going to make it much more obvious that you're recording audio. It's going to make it much more obvious that you're just filming generally. So the next thing is to swap over to what I've been using from previous videos, which is the lav mic, which is actually a RODE Wireless lav mic. So let's swap over to that. So now what we're using is the RODE Wireless lav mic. So I've got a lav mic on my t-shirt here. There's no connection between me and the actual camera, apart from obviously wirelessly. And that means that I can be within reason anywhere within, I think, about 30 odd meters of the camera, and you're going to hear my voice the same. Now, this is going to be best for quality in many ways, but actually bad in other ways. And the reason for that is because the sound that you hear isn't necessarily going to correspond with what you're seeing in terms of the picture. So what we'll do is step out into a very warm day, and we're going to stroll down Flitch Way, which is an old abandoned railway track, because there's a particular location along there I want to try to see how these microphones perform in certain types of situation. Okay, so this is a test with the onboard microphone from about a metre away. And this is a test of the RODE Videomic from about 1 metre away in the open air. This is a test of the RODE Wireless lav mics from about 1 metre away in the open air. So this is a test of the onboard microphone from about 3 metres away. And this is a test of the RODE Videomic from about 3 metres away, again in the open air. This is a test of the RODE Wireless lav mics from about 3 metres away. And this is a test of the onboard microphone inside a tunnel with a lot of reverb. And this is a test with the RODE Videomic from about 1 metre away inside a tunnel. This is a test of the RODE Wireless GO lav mics from about 1 metre away inside a reverberating tunnel. Just as an extreme comparison, I'm about 4 metres away inside a tunnel, and this is with the wireless lav mics. I'm now about 10 to 15 metres away from the camera. I'm inside, or just about inside, a tunnel, and if I step out, I'm not inside the tunnel. So now we've had an experiment and a test of the 3 different microphones, let's have a look at the various advantages and disadvantages of each. And it's worth bearing in mind, I'm not looking at specific brands or models here, it's just really the concept of a built-in microphone in the camera, a shotgun microphone mounted on top of the camera, or something like a wireless lavalier type microphone where it's actually on your body. So let's look at the advantages first of the inbuilt microphone. First main advantage, it's always going to be there. There's nothing you can forget to charge, etc. It's just there in the camera. It's also less ostentatious in terms of it doesn't change the camera at all. There's nothing on your body, there's nothing additional on the camera, so it looks like you've just got a camera as opposed to a camera with a microphone. The disadvantage is the quality is not going to be as good as possible, and it limits you pretty much to the situation of just collecting the general ambient sound around, or if you want to do any talking to camera such as this, then you would need to be fairly close to the camera for it to work quite well. So now let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of an add-on microphone sitting on top of the camera shotgun style. So with this, the main advantage is, depending on how much money you want to spend, it's going to be better quality. The disadvantage is going to be much more obvious that you've got a microphone on the camera, and it makes the whole rig look more professional, and some people going past here. It's going to look much more professional. And therefore that's not necessarily a good thing, because people are going to be more conscious of you walking around with it. It's just really obvious that you're using it. If there's any wind, then it will cope with it better probably than the onboard microphone, but you will have to put a dead cat on it, which again actually makes it even more obvious and unusual to people to draw their attention. So finally, let's look at the lav mics. So in terms of a lav mic, it's perfect for recording voice. And one of the real advantages, it's generally better quality, again, because you can spend as much or as little as you like on it, but also it's right there next to you, and you can set the recording levels, you can adjust it so that it works for you in terms of how you wear it, and you know you're going to get a reliable recording of your voice. It's much more susceptible to things like noise from clothes if you're moving around, so you need to be careful in terms of start waving your arms around as you're talking. It's fairly unobtrusive in the fact of the add-on to the camera is pretty minor, no one would really notice it, and the microphone on your body, most people aren't really going to notice you've got that on. However, if you then want to capture just general ambient sound, say there's a musician starts playing in the street, a street musician, something like that, and you want to capture their sound, it's not going to be great for that at all, and you're then going to have to swap over to a different microphone. So finally, let's talk about something which is somewhat more contentious in terms of, are you looking for the best possible quality of sound and audio quality, or are you looking for realism and also practicality? Now, it's often been said the best camera is the camera that's in your pocket. If it's a massive, great professional camera, but you can't carry it anywhere and therefore you don't have it with you, it's useless. And the same is somewhat true of sound recording, in terms of if it's going to make it awkward to actually record in a certain location, then even if it's fantastic quality, walking around, for example, doing a vlog around Tesco's and taking a sound man with a boom mic with you, that would be the best quality, but it's completely impractical and you'd probably get thrown out. So added to that, there's an aspect of, if you record with certain mics from certain locations, it changes the ambience of the film. So for example, if you're videoing yourself like I did earlier from about 3 or 4 meters away, talking to camera, now that's a classic kind of broadcast style method of presenting, but it's not something you necessarily do in real life. You don't walk into somewhere and start talking to someone 3 or 4 meters away. And if you do, you tend to change your voice because you're projecting your voice. If you're talking to someone on the other side of the street, you will talk much louder, you'll project. But you don't do that with a lav mic because it'll peak out the lav mic. So you then have a situation where you get film of you talking from a distance, but it sounds like you're close. Now, in certain circumstances and certain types of films, that's fine. But with the vlogging style, what you'll often find is that people will be using a shotgun mic or onboard camera mic because it's convenient and you can get sound from anywhere that you point it, basically. And to allow for background noise, rather than using a lav mic, what they'll do is they'll sit much closer to the camera, or they'll bring the camera much closer to them. Often it will be at arm's length, so about a foot closer than this is now. And you actually change the style of how you film, and that does two things. It actually cuts over the issue of the audio quality in terms of background noise and so on. It makes it real because the microphone's 2 foot away from you, the camera's 2 foot away from you, and it meshes in together in terms of how it sounds. But also it changes the whole style of the film in terms of making it much more personal, because you're not standing away
presenting documentary style where you're standing 4 or 5 meters away and presenting like a lecturer or teacher to a class, which is not what vlogging or most filmmaking is about if you're trying to tell a story of what's actually happening. So just my thoughts on that. Hope those sound samples proved useful, hope the whole video proved useful, and indeed this series. If you did like it, then please hit that like button, and if you're interested in seeing more videos that I make, then please consider subscribing to my channel. Most of all though, thanks for watching.